Hi, Aquarius, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your June 2024 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, one of the greatest features about June is that you are going to have several transits in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is a fellow air sign, so it trines the sun and or the ascendant, depending on what you're listening for. And in May, as I record this in the second week of May, this is in the future for me, right after the new moon the full moon in Sagittarius. A couple of days later, on the 25th of May, we have Jupiter going into Gemini. And this is significant because even though Jupiter isn't one of those generational planets where like Pluto, where it can be 15 years, or in the case of Aquarius, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. It still is a year or 13 months that Jupiter is, going through one sign. So that's a good chunk of time. And in Gemini, that is your fifth house of love and creativity, among other things. This is the house of fun. This is the house of children. So any of these areas, you may see growth, or we could say expansion. You might see luck, being at the right place at the right time, meeting that person who turns out to be your soulmate. So, you might be going to more parties than you normally are. You might be going to more plays, whatever it is that you enjoy doing as an amusement or a hobby. Maybe you're expanding your hobbies. You find something that you really find interesting. And that could lead to you. You could say you can meet new people through that too, because if you're participating in certain things. But this is primarily like your leisure time. That's what the fifth house represents. And Jupiter might increase that leisure time. So maybe there's some reason you're working less hours. Who knows why your leisure time would increase? You're making more space for it. So as the month of June begins, we have the sun in that fifth house, and the sun rules the fifth house in astrology in the sign of Leo. So if you know any Leos and you know what big personalities they tend to be, then you may kind of get that personality, at least temporarily, yourself. Actually, Leo's your opposite sign, so you probably have certain things in common, but there's like a warmth of Leo that you can also associate with the fifth house. It's a fire house. So, having passions in life. What other planet? There's another planet that's in Gemini. Oh, yeah. Venus and Mercury are here. So that can be something that is connected to, I would say, especially since Venus can be artistic. Of course, it can be love, so I would say that as well. But they're going in on the same day into a new sign on the 17th. They're going to go into Cancer. So as Venus in the fifth house can be about romance and also participating in some art project, and Mercury can be communicating with someone that you're interested in. Maybe you're talking. Maybe you're not really. The fifth house can be flings, dating, but it's not necessarily permanent because the seventh house is the house of commitment. So with Mercury in the fifth house, you may be having conversations with somebody that appeals to you. Also, if you are doing anything, Mercury can be sales. If you have artistic projects that you're trying to sell, Venus could be that you're getting money for it, and Mercury could be sales. Now, Venus is already there as the month begins, but Mercury actually goes into this sector on the 3rd of June. The new moon is on June 6th at 16 degrees of Gemini. Interestingly, the number 6 is connected to the planet Venus, so it does carry with it a vibration of love, but also money. Venus can be about money. So I keep seeing these channelers talk about the different portals that have to do with repeating dates, like 5/5 and now 6/6, and I've been trying to get some information on it. So far, all I can ascertain is that, they mentioned the Venus connection, so I do think in twin flames. So something with love, something with, it could be like, I believe it could also have like some kind of financial benefit as well, but it's in that fifth house. So yes, I mean, we could say that, it might have something to do with love. What's interesting is that in the tarot, Gemini is connected to the Lover's card. So, wow, maybe that's something too. So a new moon in the fifth house can be somebody that maybe you're having a new dating situation. I don't want to use the word relationship because I don't want to give it the wrong connotation, but at least somebody that you are sweet on, that you are interested in. You might be starting a new artistic project. The fifth house can be the business that you own, so that could be featured. On the 9th, Mars goes into Taurus, and that is, the house right before that. And Mars in the 4th is, the 4th house is the house of home and family. Mars is a pretty aggressive planet for the 4th house. The 4th house in astrology is ruled by Cancer. Now, in your chart, it's ruled by Taurus. But still, it's going to carry that vibration of what it means in astrology. So to have Mars there can be kind of like discordant sometimes, because the 4th house can be your home environment. Why would Mars be here? It could be some kind of conflict in the home. The 4th house can be your mother. For some people, for some astrologers, it's considered the father. You could say one of the parents, and there could be conflict. There could be something that you're disagreeing with, but it may not be any of those things. It could simply be that you're doing construction on your house. Mars can be about construction. And, possibly if you are working from home, then Mars could indicate increased activity within the home. Maybe you're setting up a gym at home, or, like I notice people during the shutdown, they were converting garages into their, into workout gyms. And I pass by, pretty much every day, somebody that still has one of those. So it never went away. And on the 17th, Venus and Mercury go into Cancer, and that is your 6th house. And this is an earth house. This is practical matters in the form of your daily routine. Like, what are you doing? With Mercury here, you could be thinking about it. If you work for yourself, or if you're unemployed and you're trying to figure out a way to be productive by, but still having time for yourself, you may be really, trying to figure things out. Venus in this area can bring harmony in work, if people's workplace. I think also it can even be like getting a raise, for sure. But it can be, the 6th house can be your coworker. So maybe you're striking up a friendship with a coworker, just having harmonious times. Maybe somebody leaves who's a pain in the ass. Yeah, and with Venus and Mercury both going into this sector on the same day on June 17th, it could be some kind of negotiation for money for sure. Venus here can be love in the workplace, and Mercury too, like you're talking to someone in the workplace. On the 20th, or and also like if you're looking for work, Venus can make you look um, appealing to a potential employer. There could be something charming about your mannerisms that really appeal to them. And Mercury can simply be communication that you're doing in that environment. On the 20th, the sun goes into this sector, and the 20th is special because this is when the sun goes into Cancer. That's the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and the winter in the southern. So a change of seasons is when the sun goes into a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs spell out change. And this is what, it's funny, when I said the word change, it was 11:11 on this recording. So I'll take that as a sign that that will be some kind of maybe turning point. And actually, the very next day, we have a full moon at 1 degree of Capricorn, the opposite sign of Cancer. And that is going to be in your 12th house. Because it's at 1 degree, it's, it's possible that it will be in your 11th house. But I'm going to talk about the 12th house, okay? Because you are going to have the moon pass through that 12th house anyway. The moon is very fast moving. So the moon in the 12th house, the full moon in the 12th house, can be a time of illuminating things that are tripping you up. The 12th house is a house of self-undoing, which means self-destructive behaviors. That sounds pretty dramatic, but it doesn't have to be, so dire. It could be something as simple as things that you really want, but you kind of get in your own way. For instance, we're talking about a lot of 5th house activity with potential love. Aquarius is a sign that is quite contrarian, quite, there's another word that I'm looking for. I was going to say obstinate because you are a fixed sign, and there is, there's something about that Uranian influence with Aquarius that can make you be very contradictory. There's another word I'm looking for. What is that? Contrarian. A contrarian. I might have said that at the beginning. The contrarian Aquarian. Meaning that you will sometimes do different things. It's almost like a willfulness. Just to be different. Just to not conform to others. Even though you rule the house of groups. I mean, what... You don't want to be part of a group. Oh my gosh. But also, there's an aloof quality with Aquarius. And I remember reading, recently a description of it, and said something like, very friendly but aloof. I have Venus in Aquarius, so I can relate to that. I think I'm kind of like that. And the thing that is problematic sometimes is that love for you may be a loaded issue, because you may want a partner, but you might feel like it's too much of a hassle. You have to go through so much crap to get there. And that even when you get a partner, it just turns out to be a nightmare. There are people who are Aquarians, and I'm sure they've been married for decades and decades. So I'm not saying that you're unlucky in love or anything like that, but you have to be able to choose wisely. And people who try to hold you down or keep you locked into this very limiting type of relationship, you can't have that. And yet there's so many people who really believe that when you get into a monogamous committed relationship, you're supposed to just like do everything together, like be attached by the hip. And you might find it more difficult to find partners who are willing to give you a wide berth. But they're out there for sure. And this can be a time where you look at your own patterns as it relates to how you trip yourself up. Every sign can have people with addictions. The 12th house can be addiction. So if maybe you find out, yeah, I am drinking too much. I am smoking weed all the time, but I say I do it occasionally. And I really think I do it occasionally, but I'm actually doing it every other day and thinking that it's just occasionally. It's not about feeling shame. It's not about doing any of that. The 12th house is simply about looking at those things that hold you down, keep you from doing it. And the full moon not only allows you that awareness, but it allows you to be able to make those changes because it's about letting go. There can be a release. Sometimes, if you have a spiritual center close to you, they may have full moon ceremonies where they go through a whole spiel and they do the whole rituals, I've gone to that myself. And I mean, I'm not a big ritual person, but it was a nice thing to kind of honor that particular astrological event. And if you have something that maybe you have an addiction that you really want to get rid of, it might be a wonderful activity if you have any of those kinds of full moon ceremonies close to you to attend one and, make it more intentional that way. Your psychic abilities may be heightened. This is the dream state, so it might come in through your dreams. On the 29th, we have a Saturn retrograde at 19 degrees of Pisces. So Saturn has been in this second house of yours of earned income for the past year and some change. And now it is retrograding. Well, I'm sure, it did last year too, but I mean, right now it is. And while Saturn is direct in the second house, Aquarians might feel the need to plan ahead for their finances. So they might be like very serious about getting certain income streams set up, maybe passive income, whatever, because they want to be provided for in years to come. So you might be doing some serious financial planning, but now that Saturn is retrograding, it's really going within yourself, like all retrogrades. And actually, the second house is also, in addition to your net worth, your self-worth. So with Saturn retrograding here, now you may look at your self-esteem or lack thereof and how that relates to the rest of your life. Because in the house of finances, it isn't uncommon for people to use money as a way to feel good about themselves through outer purchases, for instance, or going on vacation to the Caribbean and then posting pictures on Instagram. I really honestly don't believe that Aquarians are in the top signs to do something like that. I'm just saying that it does happen where people do things like that because they're trying to boost themselves up. But when Saturn goes retrograde here, it's like a reality check, and it's like, okay, what is really going on here? What are the things that I value? because you may find, I don't think a lot of Aquarians are materialistic, meaning that, money and possessions are first and foremost in your life. But there are, every Aquarius is different. If your sun is an Aquarius, you might have the sun in the second house. And that would mean that you identify your sense of self based on your income, how much money you make. If you make a lot of money, then you feel good about yourself. If you get demoted, you get a pay cut, you get fired, then not so much. And that can make an Aquarian more materialistic just by having it in that particular house. But anyway, the point is that when Saturn is retrograding in the second house, if you notice that your finances don't seem to be flowing the way that they were before, don't fret, because it's just a temporary thing. Saturn will go direct in several months, and things will be coming back up to speed. Another thing to remember is that you have Neptune in this second house. So Neptune is a more idealistic and spiritual influence, and it can make you less worried maybe about the future and more likely to say, hey, things are going to work out, which is actually a very good attitude to adopt, in my opinion, rather than just like believing that, oh, it's, I have to do this and I'm going to be out on the streets if I don't do this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't plan at all, but just that not to include anxiety with whatever it is that you're doing, but to do things from a very pragmatic position. All right, I guess that's all I needed to tell you about Aquarius. I hope that this resonated with you. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.